Okay, so we thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about the purpose of this channel and why we've come together to create it. So this is Jan, if you haven't already met her, Jan Steele, aka La Goose. This is Sarah Brooks, aka Autoimmune Hub, and I'm Becca Benning. And we are all kind of united by a particular training. We're all AIP certified coaches, which is to do with the autoimmune protocol specifically. We have very different and complementary skill sets underneath that. So it's an interesting kind of intersection, but without limiting us to being confined to just talking about the autoimmune protocol. We're definitely thinking about autoimmune health more broadly than that. So in the conversation about why we're here, a big piece of it is about making things relevant specifically to our part of the world, because it is different doing things here to the way it might be in North America. So a lot of the amazing resources that are available do happen to be quite centred in that part of the world. So we thought it was time to branch out a bit more solidly for our region and to hopefully
create a second hub.
A second hub. It's a branch from something that already exists, and we're very fortunate to have all of the resources that do already exist. And we want to kind of expand on that and build on it. So there are various aspects to that. So there's some of it that you wanted to particularly talk about.
So one aspect is to translate things a little bit, just to make things more accessible and easier. So for example, when we come to AIP recipes, we want to make the ingredients more accessible in terms of what they're called, and think more about the kind of recipes that we have and the foods that we eat. But also when it comes to making it just that little bit easier when we're thinking about the measurements, it just making it more relevant to our part of the world. So yeah, for example, like going from imperial, ounces and cups and pounds of beef and things like that, we're just going to be talking about milliliters and grams and and so on, just to make it that little bit easier to navigate. And when it comes to ingredients, donkey.
We have a donkey that would like to contribute.
Yes, he agrees.
Kuban is fully metric.
And he's like, yes. But also, when I started out in AIP, it was just, it wasn't a huge issue, but it was like, okay, what's a skillet? What are scallions? What's cilantro? A pound of beef? It was just that extra little hurdle, that one extra step that I had to, get out Google. And so we just want to make things just that little bit more relevant to, what we're doing, the kinds of food that we eat, AIP tacos, great, but, just some of the things that we're used to eating, bolognese, things like that. And then integrate some of the nutrient-dense foods into those recipes, and just to make things more European and UK centric.
Yeah, setting it in a different context that feels more like home, rather than having to do the transposing for each individual person, because we've got enough layers of complexity to be dealing with already if we're trying to implement something like this.
And when we come to like the technology as well, and the pans and the cooking, just thinking about many of us have some of the similar things, but we've got the NutriBullet over here, and just thinking about sometimes the tools and the utensils that we need, that we use. And the terminology for those things as well. So that's another thing.
And I think when we talk about even, this is translating from English to English, but so let's talk also about Europe, where we don't even want to restrict ourselves to English. We want to also allow these resources to be available to the French-speaking community, to the Spanish-speaking community, to the Italian-speaking community, to the German-speaking community, to the Lithuanian-speaking community, to you name it. I mean, Europe is made up of a mosaic of wonderful, rich cultures and languages, and there's no reason why that should be the barrier to this information. And we know that this is a grassroots movement, so we do want to make it as widely accessible to people on this side of the Atlantic as we can. So that's kind of the purpose, is we're going to try to translate and put into as many languages as we can these resources to provide full access to this information to as many communities as we can here in the UK and Europe.
And also to kind of point people to what might be available to them locally. So things like in-person events, for instance, it would be an amazing way for us to share. So if you know of anything, do let us know. So it's just a way for us to kind of point people to kind of support that might be available as well.
Because even though an in-person event may not be available in your country, travel in Europe and between capital cities in Europe is quite fluid, and so we do need to sort of hold our hands together and sort of join forces on this side of the pond. I think there's a lot that can be done.
And we also hope to create those events as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we're looking forward to bringing something closer to home for you all, that you actually, you know, could participate in person, or just feel, just a little bit closer to home, really. So
yeah, the ball is already rolling, but we have all kinds of plans, and we're very open to collaboration. So it's the beginning.
So stay tuned and get in touch.
Indeed.